Okay, so we talked about some basic test case here and see how this thing works, right? So here, what I'm going to do is, let's record the load calculator test. Okay, so we will start with the manual test here. So load calculator, and I'll have positive test case. Okay, so what are my steps here? As I said, you must write manual test case first before you do any recording. So what are my steps here?
Open browser.
Okay, I'm gonna copy first two steps or first
Can
four
we
steps.
just use login dealer that we already have the test case?
No, login dealer, you cannot use it because that is for login dealer only. You have to record and you have to have a separate test case. Remember, it's the same test case, same rule apply. Anything fails, if you modify login dealer, you cannot combine two different test cases. What I'm trying to say is you cannot combine two different test cases. You have to have separate test case. Now here, you can say enter dealer username or G training, whatever. Enter training password. Right? What are my other steps?
Navigate to the calculator.
Click login.
Navigate to calculator page, right? I am on calculator page.
We have to log in first.
Click on login, right?
Are you able to see my screen? Saujanya? So
Yes, we have to log in first after password.
okay. So I'm missing the login step.
Right.
Yeah.
Click on
So click on login, right?
Then log in successfully and then dealer.
I am on dealer homepage.
Yeah. So
Okay. I am on calculator page. Then what? Once I am on calculator page, what am I doing?
you need to enter
value
value.
Enter amount.
Enter amount,
amount 100, 1,000.
1,000. Okay, let's do 1,000.
Then
Enter loan amount as 1,000, right? I'm just gonna specify loan amount as
Right.
1,000.
then
Able loan amount is input. Input is good. I'm just saying in plain English.
okay.
Then what?
Result. I
Click
think.
calculate.
Click calculate, right? Because you are clicking on calculate.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Then what is your verification here?
Then third-
Should get $3.
$30.
Amount is 30.
Okay, loan amount
is third.
is shown is 30.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my test case.
Mhm.
Okay, now I need to make it part of my regression test, so I need to record it, put it in my repository.
Right.
Yeah, this is what I'm following.
Okay.
So I'll go back to the tool and I'll select the load calculator test case folder, which I created earlier, right? And I'll just say new test case. And I'll say positive loan amount test case, whatever. This is positive. You will have negative test case. You will have all different ones, right? So you can create one by one.
Okay.
But all are different test cases. You cannot combine positive with the negative and all those things. Just like you created manually, right? All different ones, you have to create it.
And are you able to copy steps from this case to
I'm not gonna copy it again. I'm gonna record it for ease of simplicity. I can create everything from scratch, like I showed you earlier, but I'm just gonna record it. Okay, so I'm just gonna follow the steps. Again, same thing, it's a repetitive. Open URL, you have proper URL, record it. And I'm going to log in as G training. Training. Login. I'm just following my steps here. Click on calculator so that I'm navigating. Loan amount, I'm going to input as 1,000 because that's what my test case says. Click calculate. And I need to make sure I verify 30 because it says 30. See, if I go to any verification, right? Any element, it will capture whatever is there in the element. I can verify this. So I need to, I'm looking interested in $30. So I'll say right click, verify element. Okay. Again, this is the only thing that says values. Text means values. Okay, so I'll just say value. And at this point, I'll close out. So let me just see what we have so far.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
These are all the elements it's captured.
Right.
Okay, so close. Let me just make sure I have this thing, login, calculate, 1000, calculate, and then span 30. This is actually a span, basically. Whatever we click is a span element, but it's a HTML element. It has a value of $30, not 30. Okay, so this is what it will verify. So I'll click on save script. Again, I'm not gonna capture this 4 things because these are repetitive, right? Because I already captured in the other steps.
The calculator, yes, that one too.
So this one,
Yeah.
you don't want to capture, okay? We don't want to capture.
Right.
Loan amount, this is new one, this is calculate, this is span, which are good,
Yeah.
okay? So I'll click OK. It will create under underscore page underscore folder. So I have a new page. And let me put it under loan calculator page. Okay. A underscore calculate. What is this? Link calculate. Does it belong to loan calculator page or does it belong to dealer home page? Right? So dealer home page also has a calculator.
Right.
Right? So we don't need it, this guy.
Okay.
It's a duplicate, so I'm gonna delete it.
No, Harshal, calculator is the text and calculate is the button that calculates. They're
Oh, yeah.
different, right?
Calculate, 2 different things.
Yeah, but what it does, see, this one is a link calculate, right? This is the one I have selected. Now, if I go to this guy, it is a link calculator. So there are 2 different
Yes,
elements.
both are different.
This is the loan calculator button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what the button is. So you can change the name. If you want, you can actually change the element name to a calculate button or something.
Yes.
So you can differentiate it.
Differentiate, yes.
Okay, so that way you can differentiate it. Now this is the actual link,
Yes.
okay, at the top. All right, so now let's go back and open positive test case. And we might have to, if I run this as is, see if it runs. I think it might throw an error because we changed few things here. But let's see how far it goes. So first of all, it's throwing the error here.
Right.
Okay, because we did not capture those 3 elements, right? So we need to fix certain things. Let's make sure we have the right element. Okay, so how can I tell what's the error is? I can see it here. Set text, it cannot find that 3rd step. Basically, it cannot find this guy, txt username.
Right.
Sometimes it happens because it says some minor differences in the elements it captures and so forth, but nothing to worry. We know how to fix it. So I'm going to double click there and I'm just going to point to this particular text box. That's all. Click OK.
Yes.
Same thing, I'm going to fix this guy. Password. It's okay. Maybe login, click. I'm just going to take it. This one should be okay because this one is new one. This one should be okay. This one should be okay. So I'm going to save it and let's run it. See if it goes far, goes a little bit further. Okay, so okay, those 3 steps are good. Now it did not recognize the calculator link, okay, because we did not capture it. So I'm gonna go back and point to the right place. So that is on dealer homepage. This one. Okay, these 3 things are new ones, so they should run without any issue. So sometimes you have to read the error where it's stuck, and you just point to the right object. That's why you organize the repository. Okay, so now it clicked on it. Now 1000 calculate $30 and it says passed. Okay, so you are good at this point. Okay, so now we went to a little bit further.
Right.
Any question on this thing? I think you should be able to record it, follow the steps, right? And play around. But before we do that, I want to cover one more topic here. Okay. So remember, these values are hard-coded, right? This is a hard-coded value. So let's say tomorrow I have 500 test cases, all have this rflow azurewebsites.net. My site is on completely different URL now. So I need to go and revise all my test cases, all the test data, wherever the URL is. That's not good. I have to update 500 test cases, right? So in order to avoid that, there is a concept called variables. I think Dilip talked about variables a little bit in the programming. You can create a variable here because this is again programming in the backend. Let me show you what it does, right? When you capture the steps. Okay. So there are a few tabs here, right? For every test, there are tabs here. So if I open it, there are a bunch of things here at the bottom. Okay. So I'm on the positive loan amount test case. I'm on the manual view. So this is the keyword view, all the word keywords, commands. But if I go to the script view, I will see actually code being generated. And you're going to see all the steps here. Open browser. What is the URL? It's hard-coded, right? This is a folder name. So find object, right? So find this object under this folder. Okay, so that's what it was messing up. It was looking for the wrong folder, right? When we recaptured it here, it was pointing to the wrong folder. That's the reason it could not find the object. Okay. But you need to have this, when we change it, it pointed to the right folder. rflow homepage, which is rflow homepage, this folder and this object. And so these are scripts. Okay. This is the Groovy script. Groovy programming. Good thing you don't need to know anything about it, basically, but it generates the script in the backend. This is what it does. For every step, you will have some type of script. Last step would be close browser. This is what the close browser is. Okay.
The HTML. Is it HTML?
This is Groovy script.
Groovy script.
Groovy programming. Groovy is a programming language which is built on top of Java programming.
Okay.
This is very similar to the Java. So it is written using the Java underneath. Okay, Groovy programming. And you don't need to know much things or anything about Groovy.
Okay.
Because you are dealing with the view here. Okay, because you are dealing with the manual view. This is what you're going to be working with. But second thing here is variables. So any hard-coded values, you can convert to the variables. Okay, any hard-coded. Especially, if the URL is used in all the tests, you are hard-coding the values. And if the URL changes, you are messed up. You have to go and update all your tests and retest everything. So in order to do that, you can create the variables and refer into the inputs. Okay, because variable will hold the value of URL. And if you change one place, it will be able to change for all the place. That is the concept here. So there are two types of variables in the programming or in the Katalon Studio. Two types of variables. Two types of variables. Okay. First one is a global variable, and second is local or test case variable. So what is the difference? So global variable, if you define in your project, it is available across all the test cases. Okay, and test case variable is available specifically for that test. So what I mean by that is, if I create the variable here, so it's a variable step, right? And let's say I create a variable here. I say add, it will add a variable. Let me call it as a loan amount. Okay. So there is one variable, there is a second variable I'll create. This is monthly payment. And I can assign the value. Let's say I assign value of 1,000. and this one would be $30. Okay, so I just created two variables for the test case. These are only available within this script or within this test. What it means that I cannot come back to this test and refer those two variables because they are part of only this test. How can I tell? Because they are created as part of the test. Okay. So now, how do I refer these variables, which holds this 1000 value and $30? So you go back to the menu, and I want to, instead of this thing, I can refer to the variable. So when I double click this value, it opens up this window, and value type, I change it to the variable. So there are a few things here, variable and global variable. Okay, so I'm gonna refer to the variable, which is for that test only. Okay, as soon as I select that, I come here, and then I double click again, or click again, and the drop down pops up. And here I can see those two variables. So this is the loan amount variable. So whatever value loan amount will contain, it will be supplied to the test when it runs. Okay, same thing. Let me repeat this for this one. I'll change it, and I'll say variable and monthly payment, right? Click OK. Let me save it. And if I run it, you shouldn't see any difference. So because it will have the right value, 1030. And I should see 30, right? Okay. So it might still test pass. Instead of hard coding the values, now I'm putting it a little bit in the variable, and it works fine. But what do we do with this guy? Because it is referenced in so many test cases, if I create a local variable here, I can add that new variable called URL, but it's only available for that test. But I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I create once, which is available across the test, right? So
Make it a global variable.
yeah, make it a global variable in that case. Now, how do we create it? So you can create the global variable under profiles. So profile, you have a default. Okay. And here I can create, let me get rid of this guy. How do I? So there is all the variables are here. You can create it. Okay. So you double clicked it. It's empty for you. So I can say URL here. In whatever value I can supply. Net, click OK. So now I just created a URL variable, which is a global variable. Now, once I create under default, I go back to my test, go to manual view, and I can replace this value with the variable, global variable. So I double click again to change it, pops up this window. Here value type would be global variable. And here it by automatically puts this guy, but I will click on it and it will pop up URL. Okay, global variable.url. It will automatically put that in. Once you select, click OK, and it's fine. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. Instead of hard coding in other tests, I'll just go change it. I'll put it global variable. I'll pop up. So now my second test is updated, right? And I'll say super user login. I have this thing. I'll change it. I'll click save all. So now this one says global variable. This is a loan amount variable. This is a monthly payment variable. And if I run those tests, it should run just fine. Okay.
Can you rename that default to something?
What?
Do you able to rename that default to something, that variable?
Yeah, you can change to anything, but you have to go and update your test.
Right.
In that case, right? Because see, the URL is correct. So it was still able to log in and work through it. Now you will end up using variables. Okay, because of this URL thing, you will always create a global variable, maybe for username, password, anything that you are typing in, like which is used on multiple places, you will always create a variable. So, for example, here I can add another variable called super user login, and I say test training. Okay, there is another variable. So this variable is good. So I created as training. These are credentials, right? So I can say super user password. And I say training. Because my test will use it will be used in multiple tests, right? So I created another two variables. I'm going to save it. Wherever there is a super user login required, here it's a G training, but in the super user, I can come here, change the value to global variable, and I can refer to super user login now, this variable. Okay, instead of hard coding training, I'll say change the to global variable again, password. Okay, so if tomorrow password changes or I have new login, I go back and instead of add training, as training, I can just say HP is another login for super user, and password is also HP. Right? So if I change it here and I execute my test case, all my tests will use HP for super user login. So that's the power of variables. You can store once and reuse it in multiple places without any hard coding. See, now it's HP is being used. Okay. So that is fast as well.
And the way you create it is you go to the default one and you click.
This is the place where you can create global variable, right? This is for the global variable.
Okay, just for global only.
Global only. Now, if you want to create the variables like loan amount, monthly payment type of thing, you will create it under variables tab. Okay, so this is where you can see you create the local variable that is available within the test only.
Okay.
Any question here? You understand the concept, right? I'll let you guys practice a little bit, but let me show you one last thing. All right, so so what we talked about is we created a brand new test, load calculator. We created variables for it, right? Instead of hard coding the values. So I have these default values set up and our test case runs fine. Now, important part. Assume you have this scenario, right? We have this scenario, but let's say you are running this positive test case with the 3 different values. Right? So I have another scenario that says 2060. So I'm supplying 2000 value. I just want to test it. Basically run with the multiple values and see what happens. So this one, I might have 3000, could be 90, right? So what's different here? Just the data values.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else remains same. Now, how do I accomplish this in a test, in automation test? I want to supply these values because I have different things. Maybe it's the login scenario. I have super user login. I verify something on the home page differently, right? All I do is I log in, I see how this button is showed up, admin homepage versus lender homepage versus dealer homepage, right? These 3 things. Same thing here. I write the scenario here. I can record it 3 times. Simplest way is I record the same scenario 3 times with different values. Right? But that's not good for the programming. Right? Because you don't want to record the same scenario 3 times with just different values. Okay, so that's where another piece comes in, the data files or data section comes into play.
Harsh, are you recording this?
Yes, yes. You will have plenty of time at home to work through it in recordings, but let me just explain it. So that is where this concept called data file comes in. Okay, let me tell you what it is and work through it. So here I can create a new data file, new test data, and let me call loan calculator test data. Test data. Okay. Let me see the different type here. New test data. Test data. Okay. Now here the data types can be Excel. So you can have Excel input. You can have a CSV file input. CSV is nothing but comma separated values. Okay, what it means by that? What is CSV? Comma separated values. So in my file, I can have loan amount and monthly payment. What values we have here? We have 2,000, which is loan amount. We have 60 as a loan payment. 3,000 as loan amount, 90 as a loan payment. So I can have two fields, loan amount and monthly payment, separated by comma. It's a CSV file. Okay, so I can say 1,000, comma 30. When I supply 1,000, I want to verify 30. Okay, when I supply 2,000, I want to verify 60. When I supply 3,000, then I want to verify 90. Or in the Excel, you can have two columns. One field, one column will be 1,000, second one will be 30, like that. But this is called CSV, comma separated value. All right. Same thing, you can do it in Excel or whatever. So that there are different options. What it says is, where is your test data coming from? Either Excel or CSV or database. You might be writing a query, select loan amount, monthly payment from loan table, whatever. And the query will be executed and it will populate the list of values. The fourth option is internal data. So these are external data sources, right? Excel, CSV. This one is internal data. Internal meaning stored within the Airflow Studio, Katalon Studio. That's internal data. So let me select internal data for now and click OK. So now I can create Excel-like structure here. Excel-like structure. So this one is say add column or add row fields. Let me name it as a loan amount. So first field will be loan amount and second field will be monthly payment. Okay. So I have two fields. It is more like Excel, right? You have columns and rows. First row, I'm gonna say what is my loan amount, test data, 1,000. Second one, 30. And then I have 2,000, 60, 3,000, 90. You can go however many you want to supply. Okay. So at this point, my file is good. I mean, I just created test data here, list of values, nothing but list of values. Now I go back to my test case, which is positive loan amount test case. Now I have two variables here, right? But variables always hold one value. Right now it's holding the 1,030. But I want to read from that internal test data and supply to my test case here. Because I have just created this test case, right? I want to supply with the different values. So the test case will run 3 times or however many times I have the values here. It will run for each row of this test data. Okay. Now let's come back. So how do I do that? So that's where the data binding comes into play. So we talked about manual, script, variables. Script variables is nothing but the script of the variables. So this is the view. Variables looks like this. This is the scripting mode. Okay. Same thing, manual and script. You have variables and variable script. How it looks in the script. So you don't do anything with the script modes, right? We looked at very manual mode, variables, and go to the data binding. Okay. So in the data binding, this is how it looks. Right now we have two variables already defined. And it will ask us where is your test data. In this section is empty, right? So we need to specify where is the data. So I'll say click add, and it will prompt up whatever data we created. This is load calc test data. So I'll select that and click OK. So now it's referring to our test file. Right? This is the data file. This is what it's referring to. Okay. Now one more thing. You need to, instead of hard-coded values, now we need to map the values to this data file columns. So as long as you have the same name for the variables and the columns here, loan amount and monthly payment, right? It will automatically recognize it. Okay. So what you can do is there is a map all. So it will automatically map the same name variable that you define with the columns. So if I say map all, okay, let's see. From 0 messages. Let me go and save everything because I don't think it recognizes anything. If not, then you can just map it basically, but it should map it. Let me see what we missed. Loan amount, monthly payment. Loan amount, monthly payment. So let's close that guy. Let's close this guy. I'm going to close a bunch of things. Oh, it did not have test data. Okay, so let's see. All right, map all. Found two matches. Okay, so if it didn't save everything, I think you need to go and save it. It found two matches, so it will automatically map it here as soon as I click it. So what it did is it mapped to this data column from this file, loan calc test data, and what is the value, loan amount value. Okay, so this is what it did. So our variable will get value from this data file, and it will supply to the test. How many times it will run?
3 times.
3 times, because we have 3 data values. So it will run first time, second time, third time, and then work through it. Okay, so let me just run it simply. So at this point, we are good. I'm going to flip back to the view here, and I'll just run it. So as you watch, it will execute first time, second time, third time. Hopefully, it will pass all 3 times if everything is hooked up properly.
Are you recording?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So many things, like, yeah.
All right, so it ran first time.
With the tool. The recording is going to help you turn it into it.
We can record everything, but if you don't practice,
It doesn't make sense.
recording is recording. It will stay in recording.
Isn't the
Not expected result.
The third time it threw something, but which is okay. So it failed third time. Let's see why it failed.
Yes,
Three times.
It ran 3 times,
yeah.
but why it failed? I'm surprised it passed first 2 times.
Yeah.
Because what we missed?
I think.
Because we are supplying instead of $30, we are supplying 30. $60, $9. We should have supplied $60, $30, $90. Why? If we go here, G trading, I was expecting to fail all 3 times.
But the amounts you have are correct.
That's the only line, isn't it?
No, it went here. But see, we are verifying $30, not 30. Right? If I do 2000, it should be $60, not 60. So it should have failed. So I'm not sure why it passed first time. Okay, so let's see. Let me save it. All right. Might be still running. Looks like it. All right, I gotta close it because I've gonna reopen it. No, because it went in the infinite loop. Okay. That's what happens when you are looping through certain things. And if you add a certain blank step in the middle and it just goes in infinite loop. All right, let's see. Okay,
You're
good.
not
Everything-
sharing.
Oh, I'm not sharing?
No.
Oh, all right. Okay, so let's see what wrong we did in the load. Oh, I have 4 step, right? That's the reason it went in there. So I make sure you don't have it. Otherwise, it will keep on going.
I was going to say that one, but.
Delete. So you right click on it, say delete rows. Okay, so now I have 3 steps, and that is good. So maybe that's the reason it failed on the 4th one. Okay, but right.
Or do we still have to put dollars
Why
on it?
did the error message say?
Yeah,
fine?
yeah.
Do you still have to
First
put
time
dollars
it's
on it?
passed, right?
Yes, I would have expected it to fail,
Yeah.
regardless, because it did not have the exact match.
Okay.
But somehow it took it, maybe checking for content within the $30. But let me try it again. See what happens this time. Okay, that one passed. Okay, that one passed, looks like, yep. And it should stop at the 3rd one, I think. So we should be good. Yep, okay, so this time it stopped. Because we had extra row, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So any question on this thing? I know it's quite a few steps. So let me just recap what we did, right? So I created a brand new test case, load calculator. You should be able to create it, right? That test case, you should be able to write it or record it. Then what I did is I added the variables, 2 variables, loan amount, monthly payment, and change the test case to use the variable. I created a global variable URL, right? And point, then I created global variables you can reference in all the tests. Local variables you can only use within the test. Okay, so this is how it looks, those 3 variables. And you can run it. Once you create the variables, you can run it, see if it works. Once it runs, then you can, if you have time, you can go through the data files. If not, watch a video, and you can work through at home for the data file stuff. Okay, but you can create like a test data file, something similar, and then reference into this test case. Okay, well, following the video instructions. Right. So what I want you do now is work through the load calculator one. See if you can create a simple test case first. Load calculator test case first. Okay, so let's work through that. And I'm going to stop recording.